Mortal Shell 2 drops you into a brutal world, where you're going to die a lot, at least if you go in unprepared. Okay, let's be honest, you're probably going to die a lot even if you go in prepared, but you'll probably have better Tarstones, be able to farm more stuff, and have a more min-maxed shell, so you have the best possible chance of taking the boss out. And so let's get right into it with tip number 1. Settings should change when you start the game. If you're ever struggling to do something, like shoot an explosive pod, it's probably because you don't have free aim enabled. With free aim disabled, you automatically lock onto enemies. This is good if all you're doing is shooting enemies. But if you find you're shooting the environment a bunch, where enemies are present, go ahead and enable that. Now, the one that I highly recommend that you always turn on, it's off by default, auto pick up gold. With it off, you have to walk up to gold and interact with it, then you'll collect it. With it on, all of a sudden, you just run over it, you're totally fine. Then there's using either an action or immersive camera. In general, I found the camera to be kind of bad regardless, but it got stuck on stuff less in action mode. Sometimes auto align on and off if you're in a specific area and struggling might help a little bit, but if you're having particular trouble, I would recommend swapping this stuff around and trying something different. Tip number 2. Go out of your way to explore dungeons and cleanse beacons. Because yes, this can be seen as optional side content, at least in some cases, but there's also a lot of good rewards here. Dungeons, for example, often give you a Tarstone, which you can use for character customization, a weapon, a sidearm, or in some rare cases, even a shell. For example, one of the early game dungeons you can find is the Shrine of Trials. If you fully explore it, you will get the Axe and Dagger weapon, which lets you dual wield like a total badass and is one of the best weapons in the early game. On the other hand, at points you're going to need to cleanse beacons to open corrupted gates so that you can fight the game's main bosses. But even aside of that, as you collect Ovum, you get additional rewards, including the ability to fast travel, and some of the beacons have cool stuff in them. And before going on to the next tip, a quick reminder, if you're finding the video helpful, do be sure to leave a like. It's a signal to YouTube to show other people the video. Also, if you want to see more of this, get subscribed. Ring that notification bell, keep an eye out for future uploads. As a tip, after you've finished a dungeon, got everything you want from it, mark it as complete. Mark it as complete. That way you don't go in by accident and spend a bunch of time wandering around looking for stuff that you've already looted. Tip 3. Mortal Shell 2 has a secret easy mode and a secret hard mode. The easy mode is the Slayer Seal. This is found on the throne under the Marrow Keep. Now, you can go ahead and pick this up, don't worry about it, but if you ever equip the Slayer Seal, that will permanently disable your achievements for the save file. That's right, if you use easy mode, you'll lose achievements. So only do that if you don't care about achievements. Or if you're just not having fun, because let's be honest, it's better to finish the game and have fun than not finish the game but keep your achievements that you didn't get because you didn't finish the game. Now, in addition to easy mode, there's also a secret hard mode. Now, just like how the Slayer Seal is the game's easy mode, there's also a hidden hard mode. For that, you need the Gloom-bound flame to light the extinguished lantern on the roof of a Marrow Keep. So, to enable night mode, speak to Thestis, go through all of his dialogue, and enable it. Once you do, congratulations, you're in hard mode. Everything is dark now, enemies hit a lot harder, as if they didn't already hit hard enough, and also they have more health. But hey, at least for more rewarding. Oh, and there's some new dungeons to explore. That said, if you're finding it too difficult, just speak to Thestis again to go back to daylight. No achievements disabled, and you can swap whenever you want. Tip 4. Should you block or harden? This is something that I wish I'd experimented more in my first couple hours of the game, because I just defaulted to using the Untarnished Seal, or more accurately, I was using the Seal of the Infinite, which is parry, which I think is a mistake. Instead, I think you should use either the Untarnished Seal for block or Vatra's Seal for harden. Now, block works exactly like you'd expect. Hit left bumper, you hold up your weapon. If you do it perfectly, you completely stop the attack and deal some break damage. Vatra's Seal lets you harden. This is somewhat similar. You hit left bumper, your body turns to stone, the enemy attack bounces off of you, and if you time it perfectly, you deal some break damage. But there are two very big differences for harden versus block. The first is you can harden mid-action. So if you start charging up a heavy attack and the enemy is about to hit you, you might have to dodge out of a way because you won't have time to block. You can just harden, the attack will bounce off, and then your heavy attack continues and bonks them in the face. But Harden has a resource bar that appears down at the bottom below your health. If you perfect Harden, this is instantly refilled. Otherwise, you're going to lose your defense for a couple seconds, and you'll need to dodge subsequent attacks, which means Harden is particularly tricky to use against enemies that hit you several times in a row. Either way, I think both are good. Over the course of my playthrough, I've swapped between them. The reason I don't recommend the Seal of the Infinite is because the parry is basically the perfect Harden or perfect block window, and all you get is a little bit more break damage, but some of the shells have better ways to inflict the break damage anyway. Tip number 5. Consumables are a bit different here. Instead, they are permanent pickup items. Because they have infinite uses, but there's a lot of them to collect, and doing so is actually worth your time. Because Mortal Shell 2 uses permanent pickup items. For example, this Common Moonshine, which, if you find just one, you can restore the 30 resolve and get the 3% damage reduction. But if you find a few more, then you can use it an additional time. So 2 total uses, 30 resolve each, if you set it as the active, or 4% damage reduction. If you find enough, If you find enough copies of an item, you unlock all of the effects. And for most items, there are far more copies out in the world than you'll actually need, i.e. here for the Welt Caps, max effect was at 50, I found 66, which means if a quest giver asks for one, go ahead and give it to them. From there, you can set one as your active and one as your passive. So right now, my active is a Welt Cap, meaning I can restore half of my health over 30 seconds and I can use that twice. My passive is the Grisha Remnant. So I basically get a spectral dude that knocks stuff down and can knock bosses down. He's awesome. This is the best passive in the game as far as I'm concerned. It's a pretty solid active too. Tip number 6. Stagger and break are not the same thing. So you'll see the word stagger and you'll see the word break all over the game's terminology. When you stagger an enemy, you'll see their health bar flash. Also, if they are mid-attack, you will see their action get interrupted. Think of stagger as a quick interrupt that you can capitalize on with a single extra attack. In some cases, longer attack windows, potentially chaining staggers, you will be able to do more. But against dangerous bosses, I would count on one hit if you see it stagger. Break, on the other hand, is when the yellow bar below the enemy's health fills. As a note, if you're blocking and you block too much damage, you can also be broken. A broken enemy staggers to the ground, a red orb appears, and you can riposte them with your light attack. This will deal massive damage and knock the enemy down, which means you have even more opportunity to deal more damage to them. As a fun fact, if you're using something like the Summon Grisha, that also knocks them down, giving you plenty of opportunity to beat on them freely. As a little bonus tip, before you use your riposte, get in a heavy attack. It's some extra damage, and you'll have plenty of time to do that before the enemy recovers. Tip 7. Shells are your classes, and while you can enhance them significantly, maybe not as much as you'd like. So first, let's talk about shells. You can think of them as classes because they give you a set ability and a passive. For example, Proxima has the Biosampler, and passively she can mitigate damage, making her a good tank. Gragu, on the other hand, cannot use the Nether Pulse. Instead, he heals by eating the hearts of his enemies, meaning you get healing on kill, but if you're in a boss fight where there's nothing to kill, that's right, no healing. Meanwhile, Teal, one of the first shells you're likely to get, he has stealth, and he can even use that for a special execution-style stealth attack that functions somewhat similarly to a riposte. So in short, each shell gives you different ways to play, and you should swap between them as needed. But shells are enhanced with glimpses. This is a currency you're going to find when cleansing beacons and in a few other places throughout the game. You use them for shell bonding at Jirel, unlocking new tiers of shell abilities. Once you've unlocked the abilities, you can refund your points for free and swap between them at any time. But there's no way to refund the invested glimpses. So on your first playthrough, you're not going to be able to max out all the shells. You can either have a couple that you invest a lot into, getting access to the tier 4 abilities, so the strongest thing possible, or a lot where their abilities aren't as potent. Personally, my recommendation would be find 2 shells that you really like, put all of your glimpses into those, max them out. As a bonus tip, if you need to do some farming, both Gragu and Proxima have helpful abilities. For Proxima, you have a chance to get samples when killing enemies. These are sold for 100 coins, which really adds up as you need a lot of coins to max stuff out. Alternatively, if Gragu's hearts are full, you can unlock a passive that gives you 15% additional Gloom. While both of these are very good, if you're not planning to actually use the shells in combat, I don't recommend wasting the glimpses, but if you are going to be using them, definitely take advantage of their farming abilities too. Remember, you can always respec for that next boss fight. Tip number 8. Tarstones matter. Oftentimes, more than you'd think. Because some of the first Tarstones you find are passive bonuses, like melee crit strike chance. This is very good, but you're not necessarily going to notice it on a minute-to-minute gameplay basis. Where things get way more impactful are Tarstones like the Parasitic Stone. This gives Leech, which no, it is not health recovery, it is maximum health. You can get a whole bunch of stacks, but for loss on death. So yeah, if you farm up, you can go into a boss fight with way more health than you'd otherwise have. This is a combat Tarstone. You can have one of those equipped on your weapon and one of those equipped on your sidearm. Another example being the Corroded Stone, which you'll notice can only be used on about half of the game's sidearms. Some Tarstones are universal, some are restricted to specific weapons. Then there are infusions. These are also often restricted to specific weapons. You spend some resolve to infuse your weapon for a certain number of hits, so think of it as like your greases from Elden Ring. But if you max it out, the infusion becomes permanent, no resolve requirements anymore. However, far and above the coolest type of Tarstone are ability Tarstones. These completely transform weapons. So now I'm going to put a couple on and give you a practical example. So I have the Veteran's Axe with the Lost Clot Stone. I'm going to walk up to this enemy. She's going to try to do something. Let's see. She's going to use her grab attack. But you know what? It doesn't matter. Because when you are using weapon abilities, you typically have iframes. So instead of getting grabbed, I yeeted the axe into her face and killed that enemy instantly. Now in my crossbow, I have the Solnir Shard. This is a cool one. Instead of shooting a single round at an enemy, like so, I now have a powerful mortar, which I can use to bomb enemy forces. That's right, instead of bringing a crossbow, I brought a mortar. And of course I have the permanent fire infusion for even more fiery destruction. And so yeah, Tarstones are pretty cool and they offer a lot of customization. So if you're ever fighting a boss and you're struggling a bit, one of the things that you could do is swap up your Tarstones. That way you might have a new approach, or at the very least, you might have a new tool in your kit. Tip number 9, watch out for cliffs. Okay, I don't know, this might just be a me thing, but I've fallen off of cliffs and lost Gloom a few too many times. Usually when I'm rushing, trying to get to the next area, and I'll take a shortcut, and that shortcut, as it turns out, is connected to a fatal fall. This may in part be because there's no fall damage if you hit your light attack button before you impact the ground on an area where you can actually hit the ground. So there's a really high cliff, I want to get down below, all I do, jump off, go ahead and hit my light attack, I slam down, it's a big explosion, enemies get knocked down, it's cool. So yeah, before jumping off of a cliff, look to see what's at the bottom. Solid ground, you should be good. If it looks like fading into fog or water, probably going to kill you. Not always. There are some cases where there's actually just water you can land in, very thin, shallow water. But if it looks like it's going to kill you, unless there's a beacon nearby, take the safe route, go around. Now, time for a bit of a lightning round. Bonus tip number 1, you can attack locks to break them. There are a couple that you can't actually smash, but most of them, if you don't have a key, smash away. For bonus tip number 2, a good farming spot. Head to the Sunken Village Beacon. If you haven't done the first Corrupted Gate and defeated Magdalena, you won't have this yet. Then head across the bridge to the same place where you fought the Tar-Blighted Shaman. This area is now filled with sheep. You can kill them, they don't fight back at all, and you get 500 Gloom. And while 500 Gloom isn't a lot, It's also completely safe. You can easily reset it. There's no enemies to mess with you. And so yeah, that makes this a pretty good early game farming spot. For bonus tip number 3, look for Rook on your map. That's a hint that he's going to give you a map fragment, which you can use to reveal the nearby area. Bonus tip number 4, if you die and want to pick up your Gloom without getting close to a thing that just killed you, shoot it with your sidearm. This will collect the Gloom and then you can make your escape. And then bonus tip number 5, sometimes you need to shoot an object in the environment. If you do, look around for a golden glowing spike. This should refill your resolve so that you can use your sidearm. So now with the bonus round out of the way, tip number 10. Abuse the pause menu to escape from danger or save your souls. See, the game doesn't have that many beacons. And so sometimes you're going to be wandering around collecting a whole bunch of Gloom and there is not a beacon in sight. Now maybe you could backtrack, maybe you're a little bit lost, not quite sure where you are, not quite sure how to backtrack. Well, if you ever get lost, hit escape, pause the game, quit to main menu, log back in. You'll be right at the beacon you last visited. Congratulations, your Gloom is safe. Is this a little bit cheesy? Yes, absolutely. But it's a single player game, so if you're down at the cheese, by all means, use it as much as you'd like. And if you're thinking, okay, but I just fought a boss, and I had a bunch of Gloom and I lost it, and now I don't want to kill that boss, but I want my Gloom back. Can I do the same thing? Yes. If you use this trick on a boss, go ahead, enter the fight, grab your Gloom, then hit escape, pause the game, quit to menu, come back. You are back at the last beacon with all of your Gloom collected. You can now use it to level up, explore elsewhere, and come back to that boss when you're stronger. And so, those are my 10 tips and tricks, plus a few things that I wish I knew sooner for Mortal Shell 2. Now, if there's anything else that you're curious about in terms of a game, feel free to ask down below. There's a good chance that either you'll get an answer from me or someone else in the community. Also, if you're a Mortal Shell 2 expert, maybe you've crushed everything New Game Plus on night mode, put some of your best tips and tricks down in the comments below. For now, I'm going to get back to the game because I have a few more things to do. Like I said earlier, you can't expect to do everything in just one playthrough, especially if you want to max out some shells. So, back to a grindstone for me. That said, if you're looking for something else to watch, check out my Mortal Shell 2 Beginner's Guide if you're looking to get started, or my first impressions if you just want my general thoughts on the game. Those will both be up in the card and down below. And again, if you want to see more content, get subscribed and ring that notification bell. For now, thank you very much for watching to the end, and I'll see you in the next one.